According to a Harvard study, approximately 3 different species go extinct every single day. There are thousands of animals that have been wiped from the face of the planet, all due to the way that humans interact with the environment. The reason this is so important is that different animals play different roles in the ecosystem, and one animal going extinct can cause a mass extinction process for an entire ecosystem. According to animalmatters.com, a population of wildlife has decreased by 52% during 1970 and 2010, while the human population has nearly doubled in that exact same amount of time. The environment around us is disappearing more and more by the second, and everything positive that it does for us is being taken completely for granted. Learning to coexist with the environment is essential for our species to be sustainable for a long period of time. But all we do is destroy the environment in return for all of the good that it does for us. Supporting causes like the World Conservation Society is the best way for you and your daily life to affect the changes on the environment. Growing up, me and my family went to the same campgrounds every year. It was a lush forest on a mountain, and since it has been destroyed by human expansion and turned into a rural community. Today, I want to talk about the Wildlife Conservation Society and why its attempts are so important to people and the environment, and how our lives would be negatively infected without our work. Let's begin by talking about why we need change if we want future generations to experience the same quality of life and beauty that we have. With our actions every day, we are being selfish and destroying the environment for future generations. This not only makes it so they can't experience the same beauty of the environment that we have, but it makes it so they will not experience the same quality of life that we have. According to Kenneth Green, a researcher, we have 8 years left to change before there is permanent damage caused to the environment. As of now, we have made it impossible for future generations to experience stuff like coral reefs, where we have completely destroyed them and completely crippled ocean environments. We have acted selfish for so long, but we're the last generation that will ever be able to make change before we have permanent effects forever. Normally, it'd be very difficult for one single person to ever have a positive effect on the environment, but with organizations like the World Wildlife or the World Conservation Society, it makes it very easy for one person to have a large effect. By supporting them, you are supporting their work in all forms of wildlife conservation and climate change reversal. Without the work of the Wildlife Conservation Society, there would be detrimental effects on your daily life. One thing they do with wildlife conservation is making the ecosystem balanced. This is a list of current critically endangered species. Now, just looking at it, you wouldn't think that any of these going endangered would have any effect on your daily life, but different animals like the California condor, giant hammerhead, and a North Atlantic right whale would all be considered apex predators in their environment. In any situation where any of those go extinct, it would cause a mass extinction effect on the environment due to it throwing it out of balance. When the top level of food chain goes extinct, it will affect all lower levels, causing the producers to go extinct due to the high amount of prey animals that would be alive and left uncontrolled. According to the Nature Conservatory, nearly 80% of land across the 11 United States is abnormally dry. This makes it an issue because it makes the western United States almost unusable when it comes to agriculture. Agriculture is one of the main things that will keep food security up. Without that, we will not be able to feed the animals that we farm every day. About 70% of agriculture goes to making a food crop for the animals, and losing about half the country to drought makes it so our food security is dropping rapidly. Another issue that we have is deforestation. The reason that this is an issue is because forests, when lush and growing well, absorb all the harmful carbon dioxide pollution and will affect the surrounding communities if cut down. Without forests, the surrounding carbon dioxide goes straight to the ecosystem and will have awful pollution effects over time. Preserving wildlife is essential to keeping the food chain balanced and flourishing and out of balance. Something more prominent that will affect your daily life is the climate change that the Wildlife Conservation Society works to prevent. According to the World Health Organization, the Earth is warming at a rapid rate. As of now, it has already warmed by 1.8 degrees, which may not sound like much, but even 0.5 degrees can be detrimental. The reason this is important is because as the Earth warms, even 1 degree can help melt the polar ice caps. And the way the polar ice caps work is they are a large white spot on the top of the Earth, and white does not absorb heat very well. So the second those melt, it will be taken over by darker water, which will then absorb the heat and warm up the Earth rapidly, causing detrimental effects to everybody around it. It is expected that from 2030 to 2050, climate change is going to cause a surplus of 250,000 extra deaths just within the next 30 years. Climate change can still be stopped if action is taken now or in the next few years. But if left uncontrolled, it will have permanent effects that will affect future generations and eventually destroy the ecosystem that we benefit from every day. Next, we need to talk about why the Wildlife Conservation Society is important and why you should be supporting them, and how they make the difference that we need in today's society. They use your donations to try and reverse all of the destructive effects that humans have had on the environment. Over hundreds of years, they have established a presence in all different countries around the world, helping environments in different flourishing areas and feeding billions of starving societies by farming and hunting fish sustainably. Your donations and volunteer hours do not go to waste. The Wildlife Conservation Society uses funds from donations to work in many aspects of conservation. Some of those being working around with different governments and communities to sustain flourish and balancing ecosystems in each of their respective communities. Another thing that they work with is the poaching issues and hunting for prize and money. Something else they focus is coastlines and underwater life, which through wildlife conservation has been neglected due to the fact that many people don't want to support it due to fish and other underwater animals being undesirable or being overlooked, even though that oceans make up well over the majority of the planet. They work to conserve endangered animals in multiple ways. One being working with hunters and fishermen to try and do it in a sustainable manner, and another trying to prevent disease, which is one of the main issues that will destroy ecosystems. Disease and invasive species has the ability to wipe out an ecosystem quicker than anything else. By taking away any resource that any animal needs to live and destroying all the prey animals that the predators need to survive. Lastly, and most importantly, all your funds will go to help counteract the climate change effects that humans have had on the surrounding ecosystem. As I mentioned before, climate change is needed to be changed and needed to be changed now. Without rapid change, there will be detrimental effects on future generations. I hope that after hearing everything I had to say, you understand why the Wildlife Conservation Society and their work is so important to the wildlife and ecosystems around us, even in how their works affect our daily lives. Without our work, our Earth would be suffering much more than it is currently. Earlier I mentioned how 3 species go extinct every single day, and the Wildlife Conservation Society is working to try and reduce these effects and slow down the destruction of our Earth. We're heading in a direction where we're leaving nothing for future generations. No beautiful lush ecosystems, no exotic animals, and no breathable air for them to enjoy and experience the same quality of life.